Fortnite just dropped a massive new update, making a whole bunch of changes, including a huge nerf to medallions. Let's break down exactly what changed. And this update is already live. They posted it yesterday with no downtime. So the main change, the medallion nerf. They said medallions now have a brief delay before shield regen begins, have slightly reduced regen rates, and no longer refill 100% shield unless you have all 5. So the way it works now is the more of the medallions you get, the more shield it can regenerate. So imagine like not being able to pop minis above 150 shield. It works the same way. If you have one medallion, the max amount of shield it can regenerate you to is 50, and then that increases as you get more up to the max of 5, which is the full health. Now, also, after you get shot or take damage, there is a solid few second delay before the regeneration kicks in, and it also regenerates you slower than before. So it has been nerfed in basically every single way. The only kind of buff to it or nerf, depending on how you look at it, is the fact the medallion circle is now smaller. It doesn't mark you on the map as far away, so it's hard for people to find you if you have it, or they won't see you coming until you get closer to them. But if someone's looking for people who have medallions, it's now easier to find you. Now, do I think these are good changes? Honestly, it kind of depends. I can see it going both ways. The medallions were extremely strong. Like, they are insane to verse. You're trying to fight someone with 5 medallions and they're basically Thanos. Like, you have to one pump them, you have to head snipe them something. It's almost impossible to kill them. But on the other end, that's kind of how it's supposed to be, because it's hard to get them. If you get 5 medallions, you know, you deserve that buff. The issue here for me with medallions, and it's funny enough that casuals seem to be the people complaining about the medallions the least that I can see, but in pubs and ranked games, it's obviously a lot easier to get the 5 medallions, and that's where I see it being a bit of an issue. Like, for example, let's take Siphon, right? We still don't know why Siphon was removed from Fortnite. I don't know if we'll ever know. Epic has never actually told us. The only good reason I could think of is the fact they don't want players who W key entire lobbies to just keep doing that. They want to try and make it harder to drop 20 bombs in games, because that's discouraging for casuals. So they made it so the more and more you fight, you leave yourself in a vulnerable position. Someone hits you for a 150 pump, you take them out. You don't get Siphon, the third party kills you. But the medallions go completely counter to that. Any player who is just running through a whole lobby dropping 20 bombs, by the end only gets stronger and stronger, so it's even harder for some of, you know, the worst players to beat them. But again, it's kind of how it should work. If you've been playing really aggressive, you should be rewarded for that. But some people don't like that. Some people thought it was way too OP and they found it really annoying. So I can see the medallions going both ways. As far as competitive goes, medallions were basically necessary to win a solo victory cup game. I recently did a VOD review with Cooper. You guys probably saw it. And he was talking about how there is just basically no point playing the solo victory cup finals unless you get a medallion, or you have a way to reliably get one before you get to the end game. And it made sense. When you had medallions, you didn't need to carry any other shield. Minis are pointless because the medallion heals you up before you can really even pop the minis. Big pods can sometimes help to top you up a little bit quicker, but you're going to eventually get the shield anyway, so you might as well just carry medkits, and anytime you get tagged, just build 6 boxes and run until you have full shield. Now they've nerfed them back down to like 150 when you only have 1. Players have had to start carrying the big pots again into endgame, and it made the heal-offs far less likely to happen today in the solo victory cups we just watched. So overall, honestly, I'm okay with this change. Like I said, I can agree with both parties. In some situations, it is way too strong, but in other situations, it is one of the defining factors of Chapter 5 is the medallions. A lot of people now saying that, you know, they've just nerfed one of the major reasons why people enjoy Chapter 5 and the reasons it made it different. But I want to hear your comments down below. Do you like the medallion change or do you not? Because realistically, I can see this going either way. Let's go through the rest of the changes, because there are a lot of them. Flowberries grant more shield. Instead of getting 10 shield for each flowberry, you now get 15. These were already an extremely strong item, especially in duos, not so much for the shield, but for the low gravity effect. The grapple is obviously a really good mobility item, but trying to use it as a duo and trying to get back to each other and not get split up was quite annoying. Whereas the flowberries, one person carries 6 of them, it's going to give the low grav effect to both of you, and shield was really nice. Now the fact they give you 15 shield, not 10, only buffs them even more. So I expect the flowberries to be heavily carried in duos. They are such an incredibly strong item, and now they're even better. I'm okay with that. I think the flowberries are still very balanced. I think they're still good. They've just been made a little bit better. Now, increased damage for the Ranger pistol, Shield Breaker EMP, and Ballistic Shield pistol. No idea why they're buffing the Riot Shield. The Riot Shield isn't really used in competitive, because in most situations against good players, they'll just spray you until it drops, and then you just get beamed anyway. But it has been a massive nightmare for casuals. I did a video a couple days into the new chapter with Muselk, Overstrain, and my friend Josh, and we did a challenge trying to win a game with all the ballistic shields, and it was extremely overpowered, especially in zero build. So I don't really think it needed a buff, but I don't think it's going to affect the game too much. It might affect again casuals and pubs. It won't really affect competitive too much. Shield Breaker EMP, again, It's an item you kind of use a little bit off spawn. Sometimes it's decent, but it's nothing you're really going to carry in your inventory. The Ranger pistol. Now, the Ranger pistol was already extremely strong, so seeing that get buffed is quite interesting. Not a lot of people have been running it just because the SMGs are really, really strong, and so are the striker assault rifles, but seeing a buff to the pistols, I'm not super mad about it. It was a pretty minor damage buff anyway, so it hasn't been anything super crazy or game breaking. Snowball launcher mag size reduced. This really only affects pubs for the most part. You can get the snowball launcher in competitive from the loot drones for this Christmas update, but they're nothing too crazy. They're not super OP, so it's kind of a whatever for me. It is what it is. Thunderburst SMG mag size increase. There's a big one. Know what you're thinking. Aussie, the Burst SMG is terrible. Why does this change anything? It is not. The Burst SMG is extremely strong, and if you've been watching a lot of pro play or you've been watching my streams of me doing watch parties of the tournaments, you know this, because if you put the laser attachment onto the Thunderburst SMG, it turns into just that. It's literally a laser. It completely removes recoil and bloom. So if you have good aim and good tracking, you are going to delete people with a Thunderburst SMG. Pros like Muzz have been absolutely abusing it with really, really good results. Now they've increased the mag size, it's only stronger. So I would definitely recommend trying out the Burst SMG, but only with the laser mag. Without the laser mag, it's really not worth it, but it's very easy to get the laser mag on it. Now, next up, reduce the drop rate of the Reaper sniper rifle. I first read this as the drop rate of the bullets, so I thought they made the bullets shoot faster, but they just mean the drop rate altogether. The Reaper sniper rifle is now half as easy to find, so they basically nerfed its drop rate by almost 50%, which is a really large nerf, but at the same time, you can guarantee finding these if you drop any of the vault POIs or open any of the kind of, I don't know what they're really called, they're like the attachment chests around the map. So it's still really easy to reliably find sniper rifles if you want to, and there was so many in the loot pool anyway. I guess maybe there'll be a couple people without them on spawn that used to have them, but overall not really a massive nerf. We have the Striker AR deals less damage. This is only one less damage in each rarity, so if you're using the Striker AR before, you'll still keep using it now. Less than 1 in 500 kills you will now not get because of the nerf. It's really not that significant, but they're adjusting it a little bit. That's totally fine. The rest of the changes were obviously all the medallions as well, so across the board, I really liked this update. I really like whatever this change in communication is from Epic. Not only are we getting much better, more clear, quicker communication from Epic Games, they're actually tweeting out from their official pages and talking to us as the community like people. It's not this really weird lawyer talk where nothing makes sense. They're also addressing a lot of concerns relatively quickly. We aren't that far into the new chapter, and Medallions is one that I was wondering to see if we were going to get adjusted, and now they have. And across the board, I think this update was overwhelmingly received positively. They did post it in the middle of the solo cash cups. Like, for example, one game of EU was on the regular update, and then the next one wasn't, so that was kind of a little bit different. But at the same time, there's a lot of tournaments running. They really have to launch it at some point. They did say we're aiming to release an update next week with more improvements, so keep an eye out for details on its release time. So it looks like we are going to get more updates in the future, which hopefully will have some updates on movement. I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering, why have we adjusted all these weapons? But one of the main concerns with chapter 5, and a concern that they've said they're working on, the movement, hasn't been addressed. The fact they've openly said there is going to be more changes with more improvements in the next few weeks makes me think it's going to be movement. All of these items and all of these drop rates and stuff, they can basically just change that by adjusting a few values, not really game breaking. A movement change will be somewhat game breaking, and I think it's taking them a little bit longer, but they're still working on it. But again, I appreciate this communication from Epic saying we can expect more updates in the near future. They would never normally do this. All across the board, chapter 5 keeps taking W's. I'm a happy man. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.